The council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Elsa Chen gathered her datapad and rose from the human delegation's seat. For 300 cycles, humanity had sat at this table, contributing, innovating, and integrating themselves into the galactic community. Now, without fanfare or fury, she was walking away. Ambassador Chen, Councillor Vexthor's mandibles clicked nervously. Surely we can discuss the trade amendments. There is nothing left to discuss, Elsa replied, her voice carrying the peculiar human quality of restrained emotion that so many species had learned to fear. The Council has made its position clear. Humanity accepts your decision. Riza Nakamura, the human military liaison, stood beside her. His expression was unreadable, a mask that had served him well in countless negotiations. The scar across his left cheek, a memento from the Zarion border conflicts where he'd saved an entire Vrelnian colony ship, seemed more pronounced in the chamber's harsh lighting. This is about the resource quotas, isn't it? High Chancellor Moran leaned forward, her crystalline form refracting the overhead lights. Surely your species understands efficiency. The projections show that redistributing human sector allocations increases overall galactic productivity by 17%. Yes, we read your report, Riza interjected. What your projections failed to account for was what humanity actually does with those resources. The room stirred with uncomfortable chittering and buzzing. For all their technological advancement, the Council species had grown complacent. Humanity had been the newest addition to the galactic stage, and newer often meant lesser in the unspoken hierarchy of the stars. Elsa placed her palm on the identification panel, officially registering humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. Our ships will begin departure protocols within the standard cycle. All human facilities, stations, and terraforming projects will be abandoned as per Council Regulation 47B. Abandoned? Vexthor's vocal sacs inflated with alarm. But the medical stations alone serve 17 systems. The agricultural platforms feed billions. Then the Council will need to staff them, Elsa said simply. She looked around the chamber one final time, her gaze settling on each representative who had voted for the quota redistribution. Humanity thanks the Council for 3 centuries of, cooperation. The word hung in the air like a blade. 30 cycles later, the first cracks appeared. The Vrelnian sector reported a complete collapse of their defensive grid. The automated systems humanity had installed and maintained simply stopped. No malfunction, no sabotage. The humans had merely taken their encryption keys when they left. They can't do this. Moran's crystalline form pulsed with angry red hues. There are treaties regulations. Actually, Councillor Thren pulled up the relevant documents, her 6 eyes scanning rapidly. Humanity fulfilled every legal obligation. They transferred ownership of all physical infrastructure. They simply took their knowledge with them. The medical stations still stood, gleaming monuments in orbit. But without human doctors who understood the peculiar art of cross-species medicine, they were useless. The Zynthians tried to operate the equipment and accidentally put a Vrelnian patient into toxic shock. Humanity hadn't just practiced medicine. They'd revolutionized it, finding connections between species biologies that others deemed impossible. The agricultural platforms drifted silently, their automated systems locked behind human-designed security that proved unbreakable. Food riots erupted on 6 worlds within 50 cycles. The terraform projects on 14 worlds began to fail. The delicate balance of atmospheric processors, biological seeding, and environmental management that humans had maintained with seemingly effortless grace proved far more complex than anyone realized. 3 worlds regressed to hostile environments within 100 cycles. We need them back, Vexthor admitted in an emergency session, his pride visibly wounded. Send an envoy. Offer them reasonable terms. The envoy returned 3 cycles later, empty-handed and shaken. They're gone, the diplomatic drone reported. The human systems are empty. Every station evacuated, every settlement abandoned. They've withdrawn to their core worlds and refuse all communications. How is an entire species just gone? Moran demanded. Riza could have told them, had they asked during his tenure. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their medicine or their engineering. It was their spite when wronged, their ability to walk away from the table entirely, and their patience to wait for those who dismissed them to realize their mistake. But they hadn't asked. They'd taken and assumed the humans would simply accept it because they were the newcomers. the junior members of the Great Galactic Council. 200 cycles after humanity's departure, Counselor Thren made an unauthorized journey to the human border. She'd been the only one who'd voted against the quotas, though her single voice had been drowned out. The human border station that finally responded to her hails was sparse, functional. The officer who appeared on screen was young, but she carried herself with that characteristic human confidence. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen," the officer said. "State your business." "Chen?" Thren's voice carried hope. "Related to Ambassador Elsa Chen?" "My grandmother." Sarah's expression remained neutral. "She passed away 40 cycles ago. She made me promise something before she died, that humanity would remember who stood beside us and who did not. The Council wishes to renegotiate." "I'm sure they do." Sarah glanced at something off-screen. "Tell me, Counselor Thren, how many worlds have gone dark now? How many billions have suffered because the Council valued spreadsheets over sentience?" Thren's carapace dimmed with shame. 23 worlds. 14 billion sentients displaced or deceased. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried echoes of her grandmother's restrained fury. "My grandmother's partner, Riza Nakamura, used to say something. Humanity doesn't abandon those who stand with us, but will walk through hell itself to avoid those who betray us." "You would let billions suffer for the Council's mistakes?" "No," Sarah corrected. "The Council let billions suffer for their greed. We offered partnership. They chose exploitation. Those are not our consequences to own." The screen went dark. In the abandoned Council chamber, now relocated to a smaller facility after the original became too expensive to maintain, the remaining representatives gathered. The galactic economy had contracted by 60%. 12 species faced extinction-level resource crises, and somewhere beyond the shrinking borders of Council space, humanity thrived in silence. They had departed without war, without threats, without ultimatums. They had simply removed themselves and watched as the galaxy learned a fundamental truth. Humanity had never been carried by the Council. The Council had been carried by them.